Hello, Soul Family. I am Shannon and I am Quantum Heart Conversations. And today I am here with a very special guest, someone I truly just honor, adore. He has the deepest integrity and just so much to share about him. I am here with John Burgos. And before I get started, I'm just going to read his bio really quickly, and then I'll let John tell us where he's coming at today in his spirituality and everything that's happening. So, John Burgos is a social entrepreneur, an internationally recognized thought leader in the field of personal evolution, often referred to as a spiritual activist. From a young age, John was moved by the profound mystical experiences that ignited and enhanced his ability to communicate with different realms. Around his 40th birthday, John underwent a profound esoteric transformation that began to repattern his limiting beliefs, where he started seeing energy around people, animals, and nature. A sense of heightened intuition that enabled him to see the world for the very first time with color that spanned beyond what we'd call an ordinary dimension. John is passionate about cultivating strong communities that are based on personal service and contribution. He created the Beyond the Ordinary show, which was established as a platform that hosts interesting discussions that are hard to find on mass media. It's more than a show. It quickly grew into a community for those seeking ancient wisdom, next generation of mystical teachings, spiritual awakening, and soulful guidance, with a pragmatic and coherent delivery. Each broadcast features John's interviews with a curated A-list of today's most relevant cutting-edge experts and awakened luminaries. And with that said, I want to welcome you, John, and just honor you and thank you for creating your show. It's given me just such deep guidance when I was going through super spiritual boot camp in 2014, 2015, which I think a lot of us were. But I'm going to pass it to you and just tell my audience, who you are today and, what you're showing up as, and we'll just kind of play from there.
Oh my God, who am I saying? I'm humility, really. I'm really humility, walking in grace as much as I can. The show started as a nudge by spirit, and really I had no business beginning it. It was way before podcasts were podcasts. And there was people in the community that had these amazing platforms. They had these spiritual leaders. They were having these amazing conversations. They were really doing a fantastic job. And when spirit brought this nudge to me, I'm like, but people are already doing it really well. Who am I to step into this? And I just kept getting nudged and pushed into it. And I dove off the deep end. I knew that I wanted to share these tools and these awarenesses and this language that we use in our spiritual type of personal development community with more people, because I wasn't aware of this vernacular. I wasn't aware of these tools and these conversations in different way. It was very much something that I'd have an experience and I just kind of keep to myself, or maybe share a little bit, but not as open as I do. And again, I just wanted to share. I wanted more people to have access, and it just grew so quickly. The audience, the speakers that were coming on, and it just became this thing that kept rolling year after year. I thought it was going to last maybe a year at the most. It'll be 10 years in May now.
Amazing.
And it continues to expand and provide all kinds of opportunities. And the show that I thought I created for everybody else, I quickly realized that I created it for myself. And how I've grown and these connections that I've made through it, and how it's provided a depth of intimacy in ways that I've learned to receive because of facilitating these conversations and communities and bringing people together. But again, I realize all in humility that I truly created all this for me. And I say that very innocently.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think, that's just taking those nudges in our next consciousness, right? It's the bridge. It's really what's going to get us to that point. It is beautiful to feel the humility and at the same time know what we held through that period of time, walking a path that not many people want to. It's and you did it so beautifully. Like really, when I think about listening to you, you always cracked me up because there weren't very many men at the time either holding this type of consciousness and talking to all the luminaries, and a majority of them were women and so forth. But you held the field for all of us in such a motherly, just beautiful way. Like it was this soft energy, but at the same time, you stood your ground. Whenever a conversation may have been going, it never went south, but there was always like your questions and how you were working. It's not an easy place to play in when you're with luminaries that are doing attunements, high frequency, trying to understand all their different specialties. And then you have the unseen realms all together. And so for you to just go with that nudge, it's amazing. And I know that humility, and it's definitely surpassing, because now it's like we see the communities and we see that we're all coming together and there's so much playful collaboration. And for me to actually be here talking to you when I was listening to you, remember weekly, that's what would keep me grounded as I was going through all the symptoms and changes and experiences. So yeah, I'm sure it's amazing for you to hear, all of us that have followed you through the years and watched the evolution. But yeah, and what do you think is so different at this point? Like you're a pioneer in podcasting, and look at how it's
Mm.
everyone's a podcaster now, but you still you are, the leader in this area of holding this type of frequency. What are your thoughts on that at this point with everything happening and changing?
I think we've done our job really well. I think we wanted to make this available to more and more people. And so those that were in, and there were people that were doing groundwork before me that inspired me to do this. And kudos to them. It's been amazing. But our whole motivation, really, some people were focused on business models as a financial model, some as a list building to their business coaching. And it's all wonderful. It doesn't matter what your motivation was, but sharing this information, getting it out, and normalizing these conversations. It's amazing that there's all these podcasts and people popping up summits and people talking from stage and sharing this language now in a way that wasn't shared before. So I think all of us have done exactly what we've intended to, and it's sprouted into something where we're looking for the fruits of our success. Look at what's available now, and it's only growing from there. So where I stand today is that there's a holding of field and being, I'll call it few and far between, even though I don't know if that was necessarily true, but comparatively speaking, yes. And we've held a lot of learning and assimilation and taking very high frequency energy and bringing it down, embodying it. And as we embody it also, we've gone through this period of refining our dense energies, our shadows, if you want to call them, those things that were in the confused type of realms. Like, who are we really, and how do we tap into who we truly are? And then integrating those higher vibrational aspects of ourselves that are calling us to something bigger than what we've ever thought ourselves to be, which can also be very overwhelming at the same time, because who am I to be that? And then why am I still stuck in this place of the past or of fragility that kind of keeps me regurgitating the same patterns? And so the period that we're in now, we're going through such a refinement energetically, where we are bridging heaven on earth, where we are bringing the higher vibrational information and coming to resolution with the denser energies in ways that we never have before, because we're capable of holding the space for it, not to get rid of it, but to assimilate it, to ingest its intelligence, to become one with all of it. And in that, it's calling us to new levels of leadership, of embodied integrity, and how we act in our daily lives. And then that translates and gives an example of what's possible for other people who may be not aware of the type of paths that we've taken to come to this place of such really truly immaculate integrity. We're we can't ignore what's in alignment with us and what isn't anymore. Our bodies will feel it. Our circumstances in our lives will circulate situations to let us know where something's on or something's off for us. And so we're being called to, again, the most refined layers of integrity that we've ever imagined that we could get to. So it's fascinating to me.
Very fascinating. And the field is so strong, and it is so easy, at this point where we are all holding this field that have really done the practice, put the time in and have gone through our ascension pieces. But what you mentioned, that integration piece is so huge, right? And you can really feel that so many have integrated this language that has been circulating out there. And it's just it like you said, the illusions are just so in your face and so clear, and it's comical at this point. It's like we can hold the integrity of this beautiful field that's being asked for us to, really hone and honor it. But at the same time, the things were right before us, like right under our nose. It's so in our face. It's so loud, and again, it's just fascinating. Like, this time right now is so worth all the spiritual journey and the boot camp to just come out of it and just start seeing the multidimensional aspects of everything in the quantum field, and then learning to surf it in this beautiful field.
Yeah.
So
We're becoming really good surfers. Yeah.
big wave surfers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Tsunami wafers, actually, now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And it's like all these luminaries that you were interacting with, you probably get to collaborate with. It's like, what are you moving on to at this point? I know that you want to bring some new experiences. I know that you'll be doing the show, but what's getting you excited these days and really inspiring to take action?
There's a lot of collaborations that are coming up, so many invitations to create with other people. And the shift in energy that I feel around that is that what's happening as we drop into the innocence and get into more integrity, the collaboration's coming from a place where everybody's showing up in their genius. And whatever isn't their genius, they can let go because somebody else is bringing that genius. So these like pieces of these puzzles are coming together in little pods to create something bigger than ourselves. And in that, we don't have to be the solo entrepreneur, the one that's carrying all the weight in different ways. The collaboration really, it's that we're, two or more gathers, something tremendous happens. And I really feel that we're getting to a point of where we're hitting a crescendo. It's going to blossom into new ways of how we get this work out into the world. And it's going to come with great ease, or with a lot greater ease. A different sense of abundance that we've experienced from the material realm that's going to be much more soul satisfying, but also provide for us in ways that others will be able to look in and go, yes, that's the life that I've been wanting to live, or that's what I aspire to. We're leaving the materialism the way that, in consumerism, the way that we've known it. And we're being led to heart conscious, soul inspired creations that really speak to that essence that we felt that we were as even children, but that we've got so conditioned out of because of the way that we're supposed to create in this world. And that field is collapsing, and there's something new being built on top of it. So collaborations are huge. So there's collaborations for live retreats. We're leading something in Tulum in November. We're putting together something in Israel in 2024. There's an entrepreneurial retreat that I'm working on right now. I think it might be in Hawaii. There's a couple of pitches that we're doing to a couple of TV networks about collaborations on new TV shows. There's a book that I'm going to start writing about the empathic masculine that a publisher is saying that they're interested in right now, so we can get it in a bigger way. And of course, I want to keep growing the show and keep nurturing just that beautiful, I can't call it a baby, that beautiful entity. That beautiful entity now that has really taken on its own energy, and it's kind of directing itself on beyond the ordinary.
I love that. Isn't it
Yeah.
amazing? It's, we start something, and something like Beyond the Ordinary, I'm sure at first was overwhelming, right? It's like there's so many aspects to it. It really is a lot of production and getting things
Oh, it
organized.
was so easy from the beginning.
Oh,
It was
really?
so crazily easy. It was ridiculous how easy it was. It was
And there's that too.
it should have taken me 6 months to launch it. It took me 6 weeks. And the right team came in, but it wasn't a team that I paid a lot of money to and did all this infrastructure. There was three of us, maybe four. Just boom, everything just landed. We invited all these speakers. They all said yes in the beginning. It was so organic. It was so facilitated by something bigger than me, for
And were
sure.
you paying attention to the luminaries at that time? Because I know you got a download that was like, make this happen, but were you paying attention to who was who, or it just really just organically just came together? That's amazing.
It
Yeah.
organic came together. The intuitive nudges and the psychic hits I got about who to invite were all just so amazing.
I love
So amazing.
it.
Yeah.
And it's funny too. It's like, even I notice for myself, it's like the more you obviously when we follow what these downloads are always consistently guiding us, right? We're in our creation. It's we can take on so much and it feels like ease and grace. Like you said, you have all these other projects of collaboration that are opening up, but really this is what this field does. It's really just it asks to be big and you step into it, and but it's like there's so much that comes with it that I always laugh. I'm like, how do I do all these things in a week? You know what I mean? And I'm sure you're the same way, but it flows so perfectly and so divinely. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see what you have next, because the show, like I said, is the people that you've had on, just watching you grow, and you always shined, and you always shared if you had humility coming through, or you've always been so honest, and it was so refreshing to have a male perspective who was a leader in this area, just to hear what's going on the spiritual path within. um so yeah, so I guess take me to the next steps now. So you are gonna go for a little, or you're doing a retreat, you said?
I'm heading to Brazil into the jungle for a retreat there. I did the first two in Peru, big ones in Peru, and this time I was invited to go into Brazil for this particular one. And I kind of hesitated for a while because I knew something that was going to be quite intense. And it is. But everything told me that that was the right path. So I listened to to that awareness, and it's a body kind of response. I'm very clear sentient that way. Um, yeah, and it's one of those places where I know that I'll go in as one version of myself and leave as another. It's just one of those pinnacle type of ones that it'll be interesting to see. I mean,
Oh,
what am I?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then is there a particular tribe that you're staying with, or how did that all come together? Just again, organically, they reached out, they knew of you.
It's the Ashaniqua tribe in Brazil. I think I'm saying that right. I mess up the name sometimes, not out of lack of respect, just because my brain doesn't function that way. There was a speaker that was on the show, and he's been down there with them a few times. And he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, this is typically invitation only, and this is like it's like Navy SEAL training for this particular type of plant medicine, and I'm guided to ask you to come. It's going to be intense. I just have to warn you." And I knew immediately when he asked me it was yes, even though I had to
Right.
sit with it. But again, it came in synchronistically. I wasn't looking for it. It's not something that I'm like, oh my God, it's time again. I'm like, I need an answer. I need this. It's like the answers always seem to flow. And
Yeah,
just in the pausing, it's just the next natural organic step just presents itself somehow.
I love that. Yeah, it's again too in the field of energy where everything's moving to, how powerful will that be to be in that country, really tapping into, I feel like everything has such a new frequency in it. So I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. you know.
Noticing that with speakers that we're having on the show as well. It's what's been wonderful for me about with the show, and I reached a couple of tipping points with the show along the 10 years. And after about 4 years, I told my guys, like, you've got to bring me some new speakers, or something else needs to change, because it's my audience has outgrown this. And I don't need to keep having the same conversation about chakras over and
Right.
over again. It's we need to level this up. It's like, or now let's do something else. And sure enough, just synchronicity is like the next wave of what I was ready to receive. And then that happened again a couple of years ago. It's like, this is stale. It's like there's 100 other conversations about the same topic happening. Where do you want me to take this? Because I can't continue doing this. And there's been speakers on my show that are just consistent over the last 7, 8, maybe even 10 years. But they're constantly growing and evolving and sharing from that place, and bringing in and acclimating and kind of blazing trails for other people to have awareness through. And I love those speakers. And then there's new people that come in. And so I took the platform beyond the ordinary, from hosting big names and people that everybody already knew. They already had their audiences. And even though it was less financially lucrative to do so, I was really inspired. It's like, wait, who are like the unknowns? Who are like, maybe they have small audiences, but their work is profound. And how can we help grow their audience and their reach so that they can have the effect of how profound their work is for more people to receive it intimately? Because you can have someone who's extremely well known, and maybe you can catch them in a live audience and sit in the stadium or be in a live webinar, but to get them one-on-one or an intimate place, it's a lot more it's not as reachable. But with these other speakers that have there's access to them, there's still an intimacy. You can still have one-on-one sessions. You can go in a group and there's 50, 100, maybe 200 people, but not 1,000 or 5,000. And so inspired really to collaborate and to create the ripple effects by, I'll call it the next generation of transformation, truly. Because what
Yeah.
these people are also bringing on is like those people that are still having the same conversations that they were having from 10 years ago.
Right.
Fantastic. They're serving an audience that is stepping into what we stepped into 10 years ago. And so they're serving those people, but who's carrying that next wave? Like, who's like continually growing and sharing from that perspective? And the field gets narrower and narrower. So I love presenting that, because those of us who've been on a particular path where we're attuning to those energies, where do we go to from there? And so I like to bring that onto the show. And I'll share my perspective as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, the leveling up is so important. Like, we really are stepping into the advanced human, and the thought leaders out there that know the DNA at this point. Like, I honor you for tapping into seeing, who's out there, because a lot of us are hidden, right? We're quietly, and it's not that easy to get access to people like yourself and so forth. It is a very difficult path. And so when you're trying to traverse it and then brand yourself, but also doing the one-on-one sessions, right? And it's a lot. But yeah, it's what I love about you is you're just so kind, and you really like give everyone opportunity, you really just see their souls. There's something about you that just, even when we met, you were so welcoming to me. And I'm like, John, I have an audience right now of 100 people. And you're like, let's do it. Let's do the podcast. And that's just so you've always been like that through the years, just listening to you, where I already feel like, this is really our second time talking. And I feel like I've known you, like you're just this, good friend that I can always go to and be like, hey, look at what I tapped into next. But
that's awesome.
yeah, but it's like the luminaries that are coming online are, I mean, it's getting hot out there, and it's getting fun. And again, it's like, where do we go, next to level up? And what are your thoughts on that? Getting all of these people that are the next generation. I know we all have the podcast and stuff, but it feels like something more is just coming, like really just gravitating.
That's really interesting. The beautiful part is I don't know. And that's the exciting part. It's like, what's emerging? And if we're looking, it's like, what can we do to become that which we're seeking? I mean, truly, because it is all this intelligence is waking up in each of us individually. And there's been so much, not just information, but facilitation. If you really tune in, people who are facilitating, not just giving information or holding the frequency, the resonant field for that frequency to be activated within you, you'll feel something stirring you. And that's tune into a vibrational field that feels like it's attuning you to something, because it's about you attuning. And then from that, these collaborations, whether you're participating and listening and receiving, whether it's an exchange and collaboration, or whether you're leading something, it'll just naturally bubble up to the surface. And we're just melting the tip of the iceberg with this. So if you're at a point where you've been acclimating and receiving and all that, be curious as to what your part of that is in sharing what you've become, how you've learned it, what wisdom do you have to partake onto others in a very organic way. Not because you have to be here to be a teacher because it's your job to change the collective, but because it fills your heart. It's like you're finding community in it because it feels so organic to you, that from this cup that you filled up within yourself, you can't help but to share from the overflow. And it's from that place of that innocence that we're really emerging into a new commerce of spirituality that is evolved, that is really evoking the opportunity for other people to receive us through our authenticity. Remember a few years ago when the cancel culture, and maybe not a few years ago, but also just, we're really speaking into how the new generation is just calling, they just won't tolerate BS. They can spot it from a mile away. And that was such a seed planting of the field that we're in right now, where of course we're going to be firmer integrity. And if we're not, there's just not going to be, it's just going to fall flat.
Yeah, the magnetic field. Yeah, it's very much, I feel those magnetic fields. And again, it's, just to kind of bridge off what you were saying, for everyone to do those downloads, anything that's coming to you, it's immediately do that. It's not even a question to me. If I'm told something, I do it immediately. And even if it's the most tedious thing, it's like, okay, because I know it works. I see where I'm at this point. And it's like, it's steps of consciousness.
I've had go to the grocery store now. It's like, I know I've got other things that I'm doing. I'm going to go later. Go now. Like, okay, go out the door, get in my car, drive down. And sure enough, I'll run into someone that I hadn't seen in years, or happens to be on an island that I didn't even know. Or it's happened so many times where these weird encounters that weren't happened, just boom, and they created opportunities, or I met this other person because of it, or it's just, that happens continuously, and it happens in so many other ways. But this is just really simple examples of listening. As you get those nudges, it's like, don't doubt yourself, and don't take the sense of responsibility of the things that you have to do or check off your list. Don't let that override those nudges that you get. Those nudges are way more important.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. It can produce a lot of shame. You know what I mean? When it's like, oh, I know I need to do this. And it's just fascinating, but it is amazing to see, how it completely just transforms our lives. Like I can even remember in 2014, 2015, I started writing chapters of my book, and then it just full circled, to a week ago, where now I'm talking to an editor and so forth. And I haven't looked at that stuff for so long that I have to revamp it to where I am now, right? But it's those nudges. What were you going to say?
What's your book about? I'm excited.
It's going to be about my spiritual journey. I'm going to take people through my awakening, but through different limited beliefs that I was going through, and just kind of walk them up a stairway where we can look at the belief systems and then smudge them out together, and then go to the next chapter and integrate and work from there. But a lot of the stories that I was kind of sharing with you today before we got on, and recorded, it's going to be a powerhouse of really interesting stuff. And for me, I've always honored, and I know you too, the unseen realms. The unseen realms have been my best friends, ever since I was a little girl. It's talk about tapping in and taking the next hit. Let's kind of move to that. Like, tell me some stories of you tapping in with the unseen, because I know you have such a close relationship with those fields.
It's been there's so many. Again, just because it's unseen doesn't mean it's not real, right? And y'all know this. Y'all listen. If you're listening to this, you know that. And because you may not have visceral experiences of that happening, doesn't mean it's not happening. You sense them and you pick them up, and they acclimate within you in different ways. God, when I first really, like, when the floodgates opened, I had so many just experiences. I'd be in a deep meditation going in, and the field would just light up. I'd start seeing the trees around auras. I started seeing the electromagnetic fields around the house, around electrical plugs, and everything was just light up. It's like, okay, I'm seeing something different. So strange. I'd have guides whisper in my ears, like they're whispering my name, and I just wake me up in the middle of the night. I've had guides coming into my dreams, teaching dreams, facilitating me and teaching me one thing after the other. I knew how to lucid dream before I even knew what a lucid dream was. But going in and changing outcomes in dreams, but it was just a natural progression that would come in. And then I've had so many experiences of land talking to me. So, for example, on the island of Kauai, I had one experience. I'd gone through a profound healing session online with a coach that I was working with, and she left me in this state that I was really charged, and I was like, I'm like rageful and angry and all this, and I went through into a mirror process and was processing myself to let all this out, and went into deep crying and laughing and rage, and it was amazing. And I was driving down. I had to leave the house, and I didn't want to, because I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can drive right now, and I hope nobody's not nice to me right now, because I don't know how. I'm typically pretty calm, but I'm so emotionally sparked that it's just, I'll just have to take a deep breath and be aware. So I was driving down the island, running the errand I needed to run because I had to. As I was driving back up the island, up to my house, I heard her telepathically, and the island's spoken to me telepathically lots of times, so I recognized the voice. Let me hold you like your mother's never held you before. It's like, wow, that makes so much sense. And it was like, thinking of this rage, these emotions spurting through. It was amazing. Amazing. And so I got back to the house, and everything landed. 3 days later, I went to a men's retreat. I'd never gone to a men's retreat. I don't know why I signed up, but I knew I had to be there. We went through this intense, intimate process that sparked emotions in me again. And I was carried. I was so physically exhausted from this particular process that 6 men carried me over and laid me down by this tree. This beautiful spiritual tree. It was just amazing. And the elder that was leading the group in the process bends down, whispers in my ear, John, let Mama Kauai hold you like your mother never held you before. It's like, okay.
Same words.
You can't argue with things like that.
Yeah, no, that island is truly the grandmother island. I've had that same experience where I was guided and told to be there, go there, and I just bought a ticket. I didn't know how long I was staying. I ended up staying on and off for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was that same thing where just coming off of a lot of, I guess, a lot of ascension symptoms for going through dark night, like another dark night, right? How many do we get to go through in this lifetime? But I remember I was in Poipu, and I would just be walking the trails over there by the garden, and it was the same thing. Let me hold you. Because I had so much humility and just going through all those feelings, I didn't even know really why I was feeling humility, but it's just those deep-seated belief systems that I was purging. But she held the frequency so nicely, and it was like she was right there. You know what I mean? Just always hugging me. That even the air there, it's just all her. There's just I don't know, that island is just will always be so special for me. And I have pictures of the Nepali everywhere around my apartment. So at least the field is like, when I look, I'm like, oh, grandma.
It's definitely a bubble of consciousness, I feel. It's just so pristine. Yeah. It's my
Yeah.
recharge station. As many places as I travel to, it's like every time I come back here, it's like I land, I ground, I shed whatever energy or weight I put on, if you will. And I feel like I come back to myself. It's amazing every time.
Yeah, you wear Kauai well, and you, again, you're a transmitter of, her field too, which is just amazing. And I thank you for that. And how many years have you been there, and what actually prompted you to be on the island? You weren't born there, were you?
No, I wasn't born here. I've
Okay.
been on island off and on for about 7-ish years. I'm on the island for a while and I'll leave. I'm on the island again for a while and I'll leave. I was here during lockdown in this beautiful space. I'm overlooking the mountains on one side, the ocean on the
Oh,
other,
wow.
acre and a half. And it's every time people says there's no housing, you're never going to find anything. It always perfect housing would just land for me. So I've been blessed to be on the island. And I came here with an ex-partner who was leading a retreat here. And we were here for a couple of weeks and we came back a couple more times. And by the time we had split up, I had already committed to a beach house rental right on Moloa Bay, right on the ocean. It was beautiful views from up there. And I had the place leased out for 3.5 months because I knew I wanted to come back and hang out on the island for a while. I thought we were going to do it together, but it wound up being a solo trip. And I remember landing in the house and feeling so vulnerable to be here by myself in a different way. And the second I walked into the house, put down my bags, I just melted. And I felt that embrace. And she didn't let me go. And I thought this was going to be a temporary space where I found out where in the world I was going to go to next. I don't know why I was looking. I don't know why I was looking. I just kept landing here. And I thought I was supposed to move, but now I understand that I'm supposed to travel to other places, but always come back. Travel other places, but always come back. So it's an interesting energy. But I feel that because of the way that the energy holds me here, that I'm able to go out, bring this energy out to other places. Really, we talked about the Rainbow Bridge and different communities and all that. And I really feel that we're awakening the Rainbow Bridge. We're bringing in different cultures and integrating it within ourselves. And those of us who are called to travel and be different places to share from these perspectives, even as we travel online and share, we're bridging cultural and multi-dimensional gaps, and we're bringing wholeness and oneness consciousness into everything. So I know that part of my path is to bring the energy from this land to other places, but also bring the energy from other places, activate those places like as a grid keeper, and bring him back to island and bridge the consciousness of the different intelligences that are waking all of us up, of course, including myself.
I love that. Yeah, that's pretty special. So again, thank you for doing that. And I I know that walk, of bringing back the fields to home base. What is home base for us? And it is such an intelligence to genius. And that's what a lot of us are doing. And again, it's going to be fascinating to hear your stories from Brazil and everything that you are moving into next, because I know it is really just you're moving into, the genius field and playing in that collaboration. So that's going to be a lot of fun for you. I guess one other question before we kind of filter out here is, you know, what would when before you started this, like, what would you tell yourself back then, now, knowing what you know now and you were prior to just starting out in your journey, just to help others who are just awakening and starting to receive their spiritual, whatever's tapping into them, but thinking about yourself and everything that you've created in this just beautiful frequency of sovereignty, love and grace, but unity. You're really unifying everybody. What would you have told yourself, back then, prior to what you've created?
Wow. It's really that there's nowhere that I need to get to, that it's all going, that I'm going to get to where I'm supposed to go. And really the presence in it, the worry never, when I started the show and all that, a lot of the worry had already disappeared in different ways. So it was really holding the field in a different way. So I didn't have a lot of anxious worry, but I was still shedding, again, the enculturated beliefs, some of the limited beliefs of who I thought I had to be in certain ways in relational dynamics, how finances defines us or doesn't define us, or gives us opportunity or doesn't. And it's just about just being aware that we are exactly where we're supposed to be. And the next step is going to reveal itself. And if we can just breathe into patiently and enjoy where we are, like really enjoy where we are instead of enjoying the thought of where we think we're going to, that it just opens up. And again, and the times have changed so much, again, with the field is accelerating so quickly, and how potently we're manifesting circumstances into our life, is pay attention into what's motivating what you want to create. What's motivating it? It's, well, I have to create money, or I have to create a relationship, or I have to create this. Why? What's underneath the surface of what it is that you think you have to create? And then when you get underneath the surface of that, what's underneath the surface of that? And if you can tap in a couple of layers down, you can really tune into those parts of ourselves that we've left behind that are really coming online. And as they come online, what we do is we get more of ourselves back, and the resonant field of what we're hoping to create and the why behind it becomes so intentional, becomes so obvious, that we can let go of some of the distractions along the way, the way that we're trying to manifest or manipulate. And I don't say that in a negative way, but subconsciously we're trying to manipulate different things into our life so that we can feel better. There will be an alignment that comes in, again, so gracefully, that synchronicity, again, you'll start creating not as God, but with God. Will be in the field of collaborating with those energies that you've been trying to resonate towards, realizing that you're actually creating with that field now. It's not something outside of you anymore, or a wisdom that's higher than you. There's nothing that is higher than you, that is beyond you. And once you realize that, your ability and your why of creating is going to change directions and take you to places that you've never imagined before.
I love that. Really just pulling in 100% authenticity.
Yeah.
And
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 the
you
authenticity of the bigness that you are. And that I only call it bigness because we thought that it was something big that we had to aspire to. And so we use that word to invite you into this vast field of energy and potential and creativity and manifestation that you are, so that you can have a reference point. But anywhere that you think that you're less than that, that's what you're attuning to, because you're not. You just believe that you are. And
right.
that's the field that we want to create from.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Truly, just it's, with all your words and everything you share there, it's really, we have to go inward. It's all about going in and integrating everything that you are showing up as today. But again, it really is that easy, right? It's like it's this pure channel that is authentically us, that is ready to share its voice and to shine and to create the strongest magnetic fields you could ever imagine of what it'll bring you towards. It'll bring you towards people like us because we live this and we love it. And it really, you know, you can see the source consciousness, right? When you're cultivating and building this up, it's like I can see the source consciousness in your eyes, John. It's, you know, it's beautiful. Like you can see the DNA just in all its authenticity and just so ready, right, to just anchor this. And it does, you know, for our audience, when you step into this and you totally honor yourself, it's 100-fold and it's fast. It is a fast moving wave. So again, go ahead.
And when you're in it, you can't help it. You know you're on your purpose and on your path. You just know that. I mean, there's no mistake in it. And how wonderful is it to feel that? How wonderful is it to feel that? And if you don't think that you're there, you can get there. And keep listening and following Shannon. Tune into Beyond the Ordinary. Tune into other people that you see are really authentically doing that, and you'll raise to the awareness of consciousness that you are, but that we keep reminding you where that home is within yourself. And that purpose and passion is not something that you'll have to search. It finds you. It's activated in you as you relax into that field again of this potent, amazing, divine human being that you are, and the contribution that is just amazing that you're creating in this world.
Beautiful. Well, I know we're on a little time crunch today, but I definitely want to chat with you when you get back. And thank you for making time, because I know that.
Yeah, thank you.
So for my audience, if they want to find you, John, I'll link everything, but I'll let you share. Where should they go?
Go to johnburgos.co, and that'll give you information about the show. We have a membership on there. There's retreat information we're starting to post on there. So that'll give you more of a full spectrum of the different offerings that we have through the platform.
Perfect. And again, I just appreciate you. You have been a big part of my path too. Listening to your voice, you know, all those weeks, really just on grandmother Kauai too, probably. It's just, again, I honor you. You are a joy. You are sovereignty, authenticity, and just so much love and heart. So thank you, John, for everything you do.
Oh my God, my honor. And thank you. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. And then, yeah, we'll sign off. We'll talk to you soon, audience. I'll link everything. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.